I am absolutely delighted to be here today. My name is Msa Yakubu. Recently on Head Plus.
So, for a defective X chromosome of that protein, if it is defective, if it's carrying that gene, we say it's defective, has hemophilia gene. So, the other X kind of protests in terms of secreting these clotting factors.
Today, searchlight on diphtheria, feared to be one of the most problematic bacterial infections that usually affects the mucous membranes of the nose and throat. And just so you know it, it is recently gaining grounds in the country. Today we take a look at the A to Z of this bacterial infection and how to prevent it. A quick break beckons. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with Head Plus. Now we are starting with answers to what diphtheria is, including what is happening in Edo in terms of disease control. As we join the doctor right about now.
We've seen outbreak even for those who have completed their immunization. We are still trying to study the reason why a child who have complete immunization with evidence to show, because I personally went to University of Benin Teaching Hospital, because initially we were thinking maybe they're just verbal records of those who were vaccinated, but from my own spot assessment, I interacted with some of the parents of these kids who had diphtheria, and they were able to bring their vaccination card, which I went through it with the leadership of UBTH, and they were really fully immunized. So we started thinking maybe it's our cold chain, it could be problem from our cold chain, or it could be maybe the vaccine had issues. Talking about cold chain, talking about the storage. So these are areas we want to look at. We want to look into the issue of our storage system in all the local government, because it must be kept in a particular temperature. Secondly, we are yesterday conducted reactive vaccination for kids above 5 to 14. Before now, we actually wrote to the national body, national primary care government agency, to give us clearance so that we have to vaccinate from 5 and to 14. Why we came to this conclusion was some of the patients are teenagers, like a 14-year-old boy that came in really his own condition was so severe that they had to do a tracheostomy for him so that he'd be able to breathe. But thank God he's stable when I went there 2 days ago. So we're wondering why a 14-year-old boy will come down with diphtheria fully immunized. We had other cases too of people who were above the age of 5. So what we are doing, our surveillance team have gone to those areas where there were outbreaks, those local government, but currently there are 5 local government that are hotspots for this diphtheria. We've gone to those outbreaks, done contact tracing, gone to the family to vaccinate people around them, gone to the schools where they attend so that we vaccinate those children and a way to mitigate the spread. Because currently we don't have vaccination, we don't have the available amount, but we have to rationate it in the sense that we go to those areas, the hotspots, and those local governments, to do the vaccination. So when I heard about this incident, I called the Director General of NCDC in Abuja and asked for them to mobilize, and they were graciously enough to give us 70 doses initially for the DAT, the diphtheria antitoxin. Currently, there is no intravenous erythromycin in Nigeria, but the alternative arrangement was the intravenous azithromycin, which NCDC was able to mobilize for us. Got 70 doses of the DAT. We also went to our sister state, Delta State, which they also gave us 20 doses of the diphtheria antitoxin. So we've been also working with the leadership of UBTH to have a good collaboration with UBTH. On Sunday, 2 days ago, I was in UBTH to have a on-the-spot assessment, in which I saw the condition of the patient. Most of them were stable, but there were congestion in the wards, which I felt was not appropriate for you to mix children who are highly contagious with other kids in the pediatric ward. So I visited the isolation center, which was almost empty. There were no beds. And under the leadership of our able governor, we were able to swing into action. And yesterday, 48 hours later, yesterday I went back there. We donated 10 beds, hospital beds, 10 mattresses with PPE, medications for them, and some uniform and other things that they needed, dustbin, hazard wears, footwears, and a whole lot. Cylinder, 5 oxygen cylinders with oxygen inside. And we'll continue to talk. They also wanted us to help them get more, like in the, what I saw on ground, there was no conditioning system in the isolation center, which I will relate to His Excellency, and I believe we'll come back there, and whatever things they need, we'll actually bridge the gap together, because we have to work together as a team to be able to curtail this deadly disease. And what we want to do is enlightenment of our people to avoid overcrowding in environments, because now children are going back to school. Sometimes they use the same utensils in school and all that. We have to discourage this, personal hygiene. For those who have any symptom, if you've noticed your child had any respiratory symptom, take the child to the nearest hospital. Because if it's contagious, if it's diphtheria and you take the child to school, it might also infect other children. So it's a multi-sectoral approach with the Ministry of Education. The teachers have to know how to be able to see these signs, because apart from the fact that it's a respiratory disease, you also have cutaneous diphtheria that can show the skin from all kind of ulcers, different kind of presentation, apart from having bone neck, difficulty and all that exudates, in the mucosa lining. So it's an ongoing process that we pray that we'll be able to curtail it with the strong leadership of His Excellency Senator Bugolo. Currently, we have about 10 cases. Unfortunately, we've lost 3 of our patients in UBTH. The other ones in stable condition. One of the deaths was as a result of the parents who refused to admit their children. They refused them to be admitted, maybe due to stigmatization. I don't know the reason why they refused to admit. I think at the end of the day, they lost their child. But in the facility, there's been 2 recorded deaths so far. Be able to come into action. It's a federal government hospital, but we didn't mind. We donated our own our little resources, beds, mattress, pillowcase, pillows, oxygen tanks, face mask, N95 face masks, medications. These are things we've been doing, and then currently we are doing reactive vaccination. Our surveillance team have gone around, especially those hotspots, those 5 local government, those areas in which they were outbreak, or they have to look at the biodata. Where did they come from, their address, went to their houses, went to their streets, to possibly vaccinate people around that area. Because, as we said, we have to do strong surveillance and do contact tracing. We are our team are on the field. Some of them are in different local governments as I speak to you now.
Diphtheria is a vaccine-preventable disease. It is highly fatal. It's caused by an organism called Corynebacterium diphtheria. It is spread from one person to another through contact with secretions from the airway and also from wounds. Diphtheria has two forms, the respiratory type and then the cutaneous type. Cutaneous means skin. So for the respiratory type that affects the respiratory system, you could have nasal diphtheria, which is the one you commonly find in infants, and it presents with a nasal discharge, and that discharge looks like it contains blood, which we describe as serosanguinous. And then there is a grayish white membrane, which you will see in the nostrils if you look. Then you have the type that affects the pharyngeal tonsils. So that's the most common type. The tonsils are a pair of organs that are found in the throat. So if you look in the throat, there is a grayish white membrane, and that membrane continues to increase in size, and it can be dislodged to obstruct the airway. Diphtheria can also affect the larynx, which is known as the voice box, which is in your neck, which is the organ that helps you to talk. And when that membrane also covers that area, it can cause obstruction of the airway. It's caused by an organism called Corynebacterium diphtheria. So the person can have fever, the person can complain of sore throat, and then if the membrane, like I described earlier, obstructs the airway, the person presents with difficulty in breathing. I did mention that the cervical lymph nodes are enlarged, so it makes the neck of the person to be enlarged. So we typically describe the neck as bull neck. And then if it affects the larynx, the person can present with hoarseness of the voice.
infectious diseases, vaccination is always a good preventive measure. Let's hear from some of the residents in Benin.
To my greatest understanding, is an infection that affects children that are not vaccinated, and it causes sore throats, nose problems, and if they are not vaccinated, it may lead to one thing or the other. So it's advisable that they should be vaccinated as children, even for some adults.
The diphtheria wey I know, na I be say wetin dey happen to for children, they give them cough, and they cause catarrh, and they give them such throat.
This is my first time of hearing it, and if there is such thing in town like this, I think the government should create awareness on it, like maybe on TVs, placards or banners. They can easily, like, this is an open place, central place, they can just place banners on awareness on, or conduct seminars or something, so that people will be aware that this kind of bacteria is in town, so that everybody can take cautions.
I might have heard that word somewhere, I'm sure, but like you said, I'm just saying it from what it means from you now.
Diphtheria is a common infection among the children, and it also affects the adults that are not vaccinated when they were young.
Now, sometime last year, there was a scare of diphtheria in Edo, but not any longer as far as our findings indicate. Vaccination is one way of taking preventive measures, as the doctor concludes.
Children are the ones who are primarily susceptible. The bacteria tends to be in the skin, so causing cutaneous diphtheria, and also in the respiratory system. So you can find it in the nose, find it in the tonsils, find it in the pharynx and in the larynx. But the toxin that is elaborated by the toxin affects other organs. For example, it affects the heart. Up to 60% of deaths occur because of the effect on the heart. The toxin can also affect the nerves, can also affect the kidneys. There's a lot of difference between, say, diphtheria and measles, diphtheria and polio, diphtheria and chickenpox. Each one has its own peculiar characteristics. But these diseases that I just mentioned are all vaccine preventable. So it is important that children are vaccinated against them, because children are the most susceptible. They're the ones who are more likely to die when they suffer from these infections. My advice to the general public is that we should ensure that all our children are vaccinated. So they should start as soon as the baby is born, come again at 6, 10, and 14 weeks, then at 9 months, and then at 15 months. That's a complete set of vaccines that we give to children. We should try to do that for every child, and we should do it on time. Second piece of advice: if you notice anybody, any child, complains of sore throat and the child is ill, bring the child to the hospital so that we can check. Diphtheria is a contagious disease, so somebody may travel from any of these states and bring it to the state. So, and if one person who has it comes and we have enough unvaccinated people, they can spread it. So if you know anybody who has symptoms similar to what we have described, bring the person to the hospital.
Thank you indeed, Doc, for your insight today. Before we wrap it up, here are some health tips. That concludes today's episode. As always, listen to the doctor's advice and keep strictly to it. My name is Msa Yakubu. See you next week. Bye-bye.